I was fat, dumb, and happy until Jason got hurt on his bike. I am a medical equipment repair technician and a successful mystery writer. My mysteries always involve medical themes and settings. I was gathering background information for my next book and repairing a sterilizer at Metro Hospital when my company's cell phone buzzed. "Hello, Jane, my assistant." "What's going on?" I asked. "I just got a call from the hospital. Your son is in the emergency room, and you are to get there as soon as possible," Jane told me. I could not get any details, but they said that he is in the emergency room of Metro. "Thanks, Jane. I'm already there. I need to replace a couple of covers on this sterilizer, and I'll go to the emergency room. If they call back, tell them 10 minutes. When I got to the emergency room, I was directed to billing. That wasn't going to work, so I asked for the emergency room department manager. After waiting for a couple of minutes, a nice-looking young lady came up to me and introduced herself. "I'm Sally Jacobs, emergency room supervisor. Can you tell me what is the problem?" "Yes, I can. I received a call from my office stating that I urgently needed to get to the emergency room to check on my son, who was injured and being treated here. When I arrived, I was directed to billing." "If it was so urgent, why can't billing wait? Now you have two choices: let me go to my son, or answer in court for a false emergency call. Which is it going to be? The clock is running, so what is it going to be?" "Mister, I did not get your name. You need to calm down," she replied. "Mr. Watson and I do not need to calm down. Your hospital called my office, who then called me and said it was urgent, so take me to my son now." "I'll take you back there now, and I am sorry for the seeming lack of compassion," Miss Jacobs said. When we got there, the doctors were working on the scrapes and cuts, as well as ordering up some of the tests that they were going to do. Jason looked terrible and was unconscious. I could see scrapes and cuts on his face and shoulder. The nurses and the rest of the team that was in there were cleaning and irrigating the other wounds. The head of the treatment team pulled me outside of the treatment area and gave me as much information as they could on my son's injuries. Jason had been riding home from school when a dog ran in front of his bike and he crashed while trying to avoid the dog. He apparently hit a brick and concrete wall when his bike flipped on the curbing. The injuries were extensive, but most were superficial. He was wearing a helmet, so while he suffered a concussion and was unconscious, there appeared to be no lasting brain damage. The cuts, scrapes, and road rash were just going to need time to heal. He also had a broken wrist, sprained ankle, and a dislocated shoulder. The main concern was that the handlebar of the bike struck him in the kidney area, and there appeared to be some reduction in kidney function. The doctor said that they needed to be prepared to do a kidney transplant if the kidney function did not improve after a few days. Because of that possibility, they needed to test me for a tissue match. Of course, the first question was, when can I do this? "As soon as possible," the doctor said. "We are admitting your son for observation, so if you can do the testing today, we can be prepared if the operation is needed. We are keeping your son sedated until the swelling in his brain is reduced. The other injuries will be treated here in the emergency room before we move him to intensive care." "Okay, now that I know what is going on with Jason, let's go see billing." "Doctor, would you set up the test?" That day, I was put in a bed next to Jason. The tests were going to be done in the morning, but I was required to fast before the tests. They wanted me in the hospital, so if the surgery was necessary, I would be right there. Well, imagine my surprise and anger when I was told that they needed to find Jason's biological father. It seems that not only was I not a match, but I wasn't his sperm donor either. Someone was in big trouble. I am Jackson Watson. Sally Rundle and I were high school sweethearts. I was a little on the skinny side at 5 foot 10 inches and 135, so I was a runner, not a football star. I was the city champion at the 4-mile cross-country distance and the 1-mile track distance. If you have never run competitively, track and cross-country are very different races. Sally was like me, a bookworm. We were both in AP classes. I also studied several of the jock and grease monkey courses, so I knew how to and enjoyed fixing machinery. I was a junior and Sally a sophomore when we met at an athletic tutoring session. We were tasked with taking roided up, stupid assholes and showing them how to pass their classes. They were so bad that one of them was close to failing gym. We managed to talk while we were there and found mutual interests in books. I liked almost every kind of fiction from Dumas to Louis L'Amour. She was into romances, science fiction, and mysteries. We started dating and swapping books all through that year. I took her to the prom. She was absolutely beautiful. I had a very large trust fund from my maternal grandmother, so I had a nice allowance and we went all out. You know, limo, upscale restaurant, hotel suite, the whole 9 yards. When we got to the dance, we were teased by a couple of the resident bullies and Sally was bum-rushed to leave me. But the jocks put a stop to it immediately. They understood that they needed to protect Sally, or we would not help them to stay eligible. We had a grand time, and after the dance, Sally gave me her virginity. I would like to say that I was magnificent, but the first time I was a 10-second wonder. Fortunately, Sally was too, and she calmed me down by saying, "Darling, we have all night. We will discover together what works for us. Just relax, and it will be great. I haven't said it before, but I love you. Someday we will be man and wife. I promise." Boy, if that doesn't inflate your ego and your appendage too. We did not get a lot of sleep, but for a virgin and an innocent, she took me around the world. Anal was something that she had read about and even had brought some Astroglide. She loved it, I enjoyed it, but I really liked to share our mutual oral talents. I graduated and had enough credits that I entered college as a sophomore. Sally took her last required subject, tested out of her senior year, and joined me as a freshman at the same college. The little smarty pants then proceeded to test out of all of the freshman required subjects and joined in most of my classes. My major was English literature and composition, hers was secondary education, and an English minor. I was going to write the great American novel. She wanted to teach Mama's Little Angels. We flew through college and were apart only while she was student teaching. On our mutual graduation day, I gave her an engagement ring. She accepted, and we started planning our wedding. As I had had access to my entire trust now that I was 21, money was not a problem. What was a problem, though, was that Sally was not comfortable with me paying for everything. She, too, had a trust, but not nearly as large as mine, and she could only draw an allowance until she got married or turned 25, whichever came first. Sally wanted a 5050 budget, and then before we got married, an ironclad prenuptial agreement. I agreed, but secretly purchased an elaborate honeymoon to Tahiti and Australia. Sally had a passport, and so did I, so I never told her about the trip until we got to the airport. We were in first class and got toasted by the others there. It was a glorious 3 weeks. When we returned, we moved into my grandmother's house. It had been brought up to date, and Sally furnished it. She surprisingly kept all of the antiques and only updated the kitchen, bathrooms, and laundry room. Sally found a teaching position at an all-girls high school in the suburbs. I started writing. My first book was published just as Sally completed her master's degree. We celebrated by going on an Alaskan cruise that summer. While on the cruise, Sally told me she was pregnant. I was not surprised. She had gone off birth control and was in our bed every night. And I was at that time a horny goat. 4 or 5 times a week was normal. Jason was born during Christmas vacation, a healthy 8-pound bundle of a crying boy. Something happened to Sally, and the doctors performed an emergency hysterectomy. Jason was all we would ever have. Writing did not take up all of my time, so I got a job as a medical equipment repair tech. Fast forward to the test results reveal, Sally wasn't there, but I was in a calm rage. The only good that came of that day was Jason's kidney function returned to normal. He was also allowed to slowly come out from under the sedation. Sally showed up and the doctor told her about Jason. At my request, he did not say anything about my test results. I left the hospital and drove home and packed enough clothes to last me a week or 2. I rented an extended stay suite and turned my phone off. I needed to think. I was gone for about a week when I turned my phone back on. There were over 50 calls from Sally. There were more than 10 from my agent and even 8 from my publisher. I started listening to the agent's calls and heard that Sally was calling him to try and find me. The same was from my publisher. I called them both back and told them I was all right, but going through a crisis at home. I deleted all of Sally's calls because I was sure that they pertained to finding me. I drove home that same day and was greeted by several police cars at the house. It seems Sally turned in a missing persons report, and the cops got the hospital information and thought Sally may have had a part in my disappearance. When I walked in the door, Sally broke down and rushed to hug me. I stepped aside and pushed her away. When were you ever going to tell me? I asked with a cold voice. Sally looked like I had slapped her. What do you mean, tell you? Tell you what? When were you going to tell me who Jason's sperm donor was? I won't call him a father, because he has never, at least as far as I know, been a part of his son's life. Sally just collapsed and started bawling. I went over to the police officer in charge and explained what happened and said I would come down to the station in the morning to clear everything up. I then picked Sally up and carried her into the master bedroom. Then I took the rest of my clothes and moved them to the other side of the house into the guest suite. Sally never moved while I was doing that. She finally fell asleep. I went to bed and in the morning went to the police station and explained where I had been. They were pissed at Sally but realized that she did not do anything wrong when she filed the missing persons report. To say things were frosty in the house would be understating the obvious. Sally was constantly checking me out. She acted like at any second I was going to strike her. After 2 days of walking on the thin ice at home, I exploded. Well, bitch, are you going to tell me who you fucked to produce your son? I would also like to know how you managed it when you only went to school, the library, and slept in our marriage bed every night. It sure as hell wasn't an immaculate conception, because the compatibility test showed male chromosomes, just not mine. Answer me, bitch. Sally was by this time crying again. She sobbed, I'm sorry, I didn't know he wasn't yours. I was only with the professor one time when I told you I was in the library. So it was only one time, was it? Did I get sloppy seconds that night? Did I suck out his juice when you got back home? Answer me, bitch. Sally ran out of the kitchen and closed the bedroom door. I decided to do what I do best, so I wrote, Sally, this is to inform you that we will be getting a divorce for sure if you don't answer all of my questions. We may be going that way even when I get the answers, but I will get the answers. 1. Who is Jason's biological father? 2. How long did your cheating go on while you were supposedly studying for that goddamned master's? 3. Was the sex totally consensual? 4. When were you going to tell me if ever? Your, who always has been, faithful husband, Jackson Watson. P.S. I will enforce the prenup if we divorce, so you might want to investigate where you will live if and when that happens. This is my house. Sally was up and around the next day. The note was gone. She acted as if it had never been read. Stop, I screamed. I know you read that note. You have 5 minutes to answer those questions or you are out of here. Do you understand? She sat down, took the note out of the housecoat pocket, and looked at it. I'm so sorry, Jack. Professor Roger Klein must be the father. It went on from the second class. He accused me of plagiarism and said if I didn't sleep with him until I got my degree, he would expose me. It turns out I quoted something without attribution and he caught it. I forgot all about going off the birth control pills. When I got pregnant, I was so sure it was yours that I told the professor that we were done and if he complained, I would report him. He would have lost his job and his teaching credentials. He left me alone after that. So you never thought to come to me and tell me that that slime ball was blackmailing you, I asked. I was afraid, and I thought he would stop me from getting my degree that I worked so hard for, Sally answered. So you thought more of your precious degree than your forgotten marriage. Is that it? I was scared, now I am terrified that you are going to do something stupid and I will lose you, Sally replied. I am going to do something. I'm going to sue the bastard back for child support and make sure that he never teaches again. I will spend every dime I have after our divorce to wreck him. Our divorce, you said that you might not if you got the answers, Sally answered. That is true, except you forgot the lie. When I first asked you, you said it was only one time. Now you are saying that it went on almost the whole semester. You do realize that if it had been only one time, that first time you would not have gotten pregnant with his baby, don't you? Please, Jack, I'll do anything. Anything to stay married to you, Sally answered. Will you lie to me like you have been doing all these years, I asked. She recoiled as if struck. My God, I have been, haven't I? Can I please stay until Jason is released? I'm not going to kick you out, but once all of his damage is fixed, I expect you to take your son and leave. Do you understand? Yes, she replied. Jason came home, and I watched his confusion as I was on one side of the house and Sally was on the other. Finally, on a good day, when he was not hurting, he asked, Dad, what is wrong? Are you mad at me? Are you and Mom fighting about something? Is it something I did? I choked up. I yelled as I grabbed him in a hug. Sally, get your sweet ass down here right now. I was loud, not angry. Before she could get from the other side of the house, I found myself crying. When Sally came into the den, she saw me holding Jason and crying like a baby. She had tears in her eyes. I motioned her over. I grabbed her and squeezed her like I was squeezing Jason. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just kept repeating it. When I finally cried out, I said, I love you both. We will fix these problems together. Then I said, trying to lighten the mood, when all the casts come off, we are going on a trip. Tomorrow I am going to find a nice medium-sized RV motorhome and we are going to travel. Okay. Sally wiped the tears and looked at me. I mouthed later and hugged her, and for the first time since the discovery, I kissed her. Jason squeaked. Okay, Dad, I know you're not mad, but let me breathe. I let him go and started tickling him until he accidentally clubbed me with his arm cast. That afternoon, I moved my stuff back into the master suite. After Jason went to bed, I grabbed Sally and carried her into the den and plopped into my oversized recliner and placed her on my lap. Please don't interrupt. I am sorry for being a jerk. Jason is my son, regardless of the junk that dripped down your leg. I know now it was tantamount to rape. We will not go public, but I want you to make a deposition to chronicle the events. We will use that to get that asshole out of the teaching profession. He has probably done that same thing before. Then, when we get back from our little trip as a family, we will get some consoling and put this behind us. Now, seeing as you have been quiet as I made my speech, do you have anything to say, other than you're sorry? Yes, she squealed, yes to it all. Now I'm horny for my man, so you better make some catching up love to me, and I will make some catching up love to you. Okay. I picked her up, carried her to the bed, and tossed her into it. As soon as she was out of my arms, my clothes seemed to fall off. Hers did too. They went everywhere. I was a broken man in the morning. Jason came into the bedroom and saw both of us there and jumped in bed with us. Sally was deposed the next day, and we made certified copies to give to the college administration and to the professor. We also wrote an offer to the professor that if he resigned and never taught again, we would not make it a public issue. The professor blustered, so we took the copy to the administration. The professor was gone that afternoon and without his severance or teaching credentials. When we returned from the trip, we entered consoling, and we are still together, but it isn't totally the same. I find myself looking for signs that Jason knows, or that Sally might be looking elsewhere. She looks at me like I am going to blow up and throw it in her face sometimes. Surprisingly, we do have arguments, but that is never mentioned. Jason will soon be going off to college, and Sally and I are moving to Hawaii. Life goes on, as the writer said. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.